Nikhil Gupta has been accused of plotting to assassinate Sikh for Justice terrorist Gurpatwant Singh Pannun. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI, arrested Nikhil Gupta from Prague last year, and since then he has been lodged in a jail in the United States. In his first interview to any media outlet, Nikhil Gupta answered the Sunday Guardian's questions through an intermediary from jail last week. I'm going to take you through each and every question asked and answered one by one. Let's straight away go across to the questions that have been asked. Question number one right here, as you can see, the question was, you have been in the United States for over a month and now away from your family for over a year. How difficult has this whole phase been? His answer is written right over here. It's very difficult. After coming to the US, it has in fact become even harder. This is a slaughterhouse, not a jail. Everyone knows about the torture that happened with me in Prague. Here, it's a complete slaughterhouse. The jail where I am held, MDC Brooklyn, is always in the news headlines for its poor safety conditions. Just last week, someone was stabbed in the cell across one from mine. In the last 2 months alone, there have been 4 murders and 25 stabbings over here. It's very hard to live here. I requested the officials and the judge to move me to a different place, but my request was not accepted. I was also assaulted some days ago. Have put forth my multiple requests for the appointment of a public defender to represent me, since our savings have been spent on the legal fees that I had to incur in Czech in the US. I'm still waiting for a response on that. I only have the prayers of my fellow Indians. Otherwise, I have no other support. This is in fact what he has shared with the Sunday Guardian. So these are, of course, the pointers that he has shared. Let's, in fact, we're going to take you through these questions one by one, but let me quickly introduce to you our guests who are going to be joining us. We're being joined by Ms. Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian, and we're also being joined by Professor Sandeep Tripathi, foreign affairs expert. A very good morning to you, sir, and thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX. Now, this is the first time anyone in the world is hearing his side of the arguments. You know, what he said about the situation that he's in, the fact that his request has been rejected. There are 4 killings and 25 stabbings that have taken place inside the vicinity of the jail. How do you then view, all these statements and all that he shared to the Sunday Guardian?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So, yeah, that question was for you.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, India made clarified that US has the right to ask any questions regarding this case. But at the same time, as that have shown the kind of interview Nikhil Gupta has shown. So my point is that, first of all, accuse and conviction. So during the process of investigation, one should not be tortured, and this is somehow the justice of fair trial. So if one is convicted, so you may charge as per the offense. But during the investigation process, if the jail is somehow slaughtered, the jail is somehow defined as inhumane. So I think a country which is claimed as a vibrant democracy across the world, the country has to maintain this kind of credential. That if there is charges, there is accusation, there is charges against plotting Khalistani terrorist Pannun. So if you have evidences, you produce before the court, and you do have all right to ask the questions. But my point is that a country like USA, as we follow in India also, that investigation process must be very fair, And we must give some liberty also to consult the advocates. I know somehow to consult family members. So you should not treat as an offender. You should not treat as a convicted during the entire trial process. So the kind of pain he had expressed in his interview, I think you should consider, and you should also consider the plea and the request that has given by him.
Right, sir, absolutely. Requesting you to stay on with us. Let's quickly glance through question number 2 that has been asked. Not much is known about you apart from what the US indictment has mentioned and what the US media reports have written about you. Who exactly then is Nikhil Gupta? His answer right here: I have always been a businessman. I have been involved in various small businesses. I have worked in mining, silica sand, non-ferrous metal import, brass handicrafts and marble export. I have never been involved in any illegal or unlawful activities. My profile, income tax returns and police clearance certificate, which has been issued and verified by the government of India, will attest to these facts. So again, this is the answer that he has given as far as who exactly Nikhil Gupta is. That question was asked to him. He's a businessman involved in multiple businesses: mining, silica sand, non-ferrous metal import, brass handicraft. So these are, of course, the details that he has shared with the Sunday Guardian. And in fact, I'm going to take this conversation forward with Ms. Joyita Basu. Ma'am, again, he's given us an understanding on who exactly he is. I'm going to add to the fact that there is no concrete proof that has been given out which says that he is responsible for the so-called assassination attempt that was made. Then how do you view all of these developments that are taking place and the fact that this businessman, he has been put behind bars?
If you look at it, I mean, what is the principle of natural justice? What does it say? You are innocent until proven guilty. And the thing is, you see, the case is now going to court. It is on the September of 13th or 10th. I mean, in September, it is going to court. So now the thing is that it's but natural. This man will say that he is innocent. The thing is that if he's saying innocent, we have to consider him as innocent. So it's the FBI's job. It is the Department of Justice to prove that this man is actually guilty. And right now, of course, what we have heard is, I mean, we have been shown some sketchy photographs and we have been told certain things. Till now, we will have to wait and see what the FBI has to put in court, number one. Number two, until and unless the question here, the larger question here is the insecurity in the prison. Okay, that this man, he's saying that, he's being treated badly, that he was tortured in Czech, which is very important. This is the first time we are getting a confirmation from the man himself that yes, tort methods have been used that go against the principles of the right of a prisoner. Okay, the thing is that, and here think of it, I mean, I would say, think of it in terms of what say for example, the Vijay Mallya case. What exactly has Vijay Mallya been telling the UK courts? That, if we go there, I go there, they will treat me badly, they will torture me, all sorts of things. And what exactly is this so-called first world country, the developed country, the number one superpower in the world is doing? These charges are coming directly from a prisoner that he has been tortured, that his cell is unsafe. There was a knife attack right next to another cell across his cell. I mean, these are serious charges. If the US government, if the Department of Justice, they do not pick it up, then I'm sorry, I hope at least on this issue, the Indian government will pick up this issue on behalf of Nikhil Gupta and put pressure on them that this man is an Indian citizen. You have no right to treat him badly in prison. Here we are not going into the question of whether he is innocent or guilty, but at the same time, you have to remember, until proven guilty, you are innocent.
Right, ma'am. Absolutely. Stay on with us. In fact, we're going to go through the other questions over here. Question number 3. You have pleaded not guilty in this high-profile case. Are you arguing that they have the wrong man in custody? His answer right here: I am not that person. There is no actual case against me. All of it is a fabricated and politically motivated situation. This is the statement that's very important. I was only meant to affect the elections in India. The US has targeted and a specific community using a divide and rule strategy. They try to exploit this situation in India and also capitalize on it in the US because the Sikh community is quite large and influential here as well. I am not that person and they are accusing me of it. Initially, they said that I was a drug trafficker and a firearm dealer. Now, they have then they shifted to brand me as a murder to or for hire. So this is again statements that have been made by him. After that, they changed their story again and then they changed it for the fourth time. This is all a mischief and their allegations have no basis. They are playing dirty games, influencing everything and buying people with money and power. Whether it's through power or money, they want people to comply with their directions. Again, big statements there being made by Nikhil Gupta. I'm going to take this conversation forward with Ms. Joyita Basu. Ma'am, again, he's very openly stated that it's all a fabricated and politically motivated situation that has arisen. How do you then view these statements that have been made, him very openly saying that it's fabricated and politically motivated?
Well, let's not forget one thing. Even if this man is guilty, we do not have any way of knowing that sitting here. The thing is that does the FBI have enough proof on him on this, or are they? That is what I'm again going to say. You know what? Of course, we all know the Sikh community. We're talking about the vote of the Sikh community. Basically, he's talking about a large section of the Khalistanis. And we all know the kind of lobbying the Khalistanis have been doing in the US and in Canada specifically, but in the US also. We all know that Pannun guy is an extremely shady character. And just because he is a US citizen does not absolve him of the fact that he is also a terrorist according to India, number one. And number two, let's not forget, you see, the kind of threats that he has been issuing from the US soil, even if someone had issued even 1/10 of the things that this guy has been saying against India, India's prime minister, he has been threatening to blow up India's parliament, he would have been incarcerated in the US if he had said even, as I said, 1/10 of what he has said about India. So the whole question is that there is speculation that Pannun is a US deep state asset. Now, if that is the case, whether these people were actually, they are actually trying to protect their asset. Okay, if he is a CIA asset, the thing is that, and that is what the buzz is. The media reports are saying that Pannun is a CIA asset. Now, if they are trying to use Pannun to build a case against India, it is possible. It is quite possible. Let's not forget the fact that the US is very unhappy that India has kind of stood its ground on Ukraine and has not come out in support of the West. So all those issues are there. So you never know how the deep state works. Now, the whole point is that are they making this man a victim of these certain, their own machinations, the political machinations? Now, that possibility is always there. But again, as I said, this case is sub judice until and unless we see the kind of proof that the FBI, the Department of Justice places in court. We cannot say anything right now. But this is this guy's version of the story. It's but natural that he will say innocent, and I'm certain this is what he's going to present in court also. Now it is upon the FBI to prove that he's a drug dealer, he's an arms dealer, and all the things that they have accused him of. Until that time, or during when the trial is going on, the least that the American government can do is provide security to this man.
Right, ma'am, absolutely requesting you to stay on with us. Let's quickly take a look at question number 4 right over here. Have you met any Indian central government officials involved in security or intelligence during your time in India, as the FBI and Department of Justice has alleged? The answer right over here. The answer is right over here. 1 second. Yeah. I used to meet around 100 people daily for my businesses. This is a part of my own trade. We go out and interact with many people. If possible, among them is a person whose identity I do not know, and later it turns out that he was an undercover agent or a government employee? How would I know? I have never knowingly met anyone like that. I do not know anyone who is referred to as CC1, in fact, which means the co-conspirator one in the indictment. Before this entire thing happened, I was discussing with some friends about forming a group and entering the real estate sector. So again, just giving you a background about him. Some friends introduced me to new people who were interested in investing or doing something similar. Thus, I met many new people in connection with my business. So again, an answer that has been delivered by him. I'm going to take this conversation forward with Professor Sandeep Tripathi. Sir, as he's mentioned, his job was such that he had to interact with lots and lots of people on a daily basis, as many as 100, as he has mentioned. So, I mean, then how do you view these developments that are taking place? The fact that, do you think, he is, there's a situation over here where he's being targeted? What's your assessment?
See, I have 2 points that I would like to make here. First, that the previous question, that whether it was fabricated or politically motivated. My question is, and I always puzzling of this question, that does US have a right? Do US have the right to provide safe haven? Person who is plotting against India, that is the fundamental question. And why is the US so curious and so conscious about the Pannun? A person who is a very open and a very visible plotting against India and separatism. First question. Second is, as far as the allegation is concerned, Indian government responded very clearly that this is a serious commission, and we have constituted a committee, high-level committee, to inquire. And the third point is Nikhil Gupta, that he clarified that since he is a businessman, he has lots of communications, lots of exchanges of words, interactions within the multiple stakeholders to engage and to promote his own business. So it's very difficult to identify someone who is coming. For example, if I'm involved for example, I'm involved in teaching professor, and someone is coming for taking any kind of guidance, I don't know who is person. So in your face, that is not defined that who is coming from. And generally, people do not ask, please show your Aadhaar card, show your PAN card. So this is regular interactions, and it happens. So on the basis of this kind of, do you have meet some Indian officials, that is defined as CC1, that's very difficult. And this is somehow, speculations. And on the basis of speculations, you cannot impose certain charges and just put behind the wall such kind of inhumane manner. So I think, again, I asked the question from US and Department of Justice, that you always show your human face, your humanitarian background, free trial, vibrancy of democracy, and whatever you teaches across the world. But what is doing for Indian national? At least treat him as accused, not convict. At least treat him as a person who is a friendly nation. We have a very good relation with USA. We have 2+2, lots of engagement with the USA. And now you are targeting a person who is coming from India only on the basis of apprehension. And your apprehension is not based on the facts. And your apprehension is based on the political motive, but that is clear. So my request is that Indian government should involve, not to involve to put pressure on USA. Do not show any kind of this kind of inhumane and the torture behavior against Nikhil Gupta. You have a right to ask the question as investigation process. You have a right to trial, free trial, but you don't have a right to give safe havens those social and those political elements who are dividing India. That is not acceptable.
Right, it's absolutely requesting you to stay on with us. Question number 5 over here. Did you have any criminal cases filed against you or in any part of India as claimed by the FBI? So that's, of course, the question. The answer over here, not in any part of India, nor in any other country, there hasn't been any criminal or even civil case filed against me. I'm just an honest, tax-paying, normal citizen like you and the readers of this interview. Very short and simple answer there, saying that he doesn't have a criminal or a civil record within India or outside of India. That's, of course, what he has stated. I'm going to take this conversation forward with Ms. Joyita Basu. Ma'am, someone who's very openly and very openly saying that he doesn't have any criminal record, nor in India or abroad. Why would then someone like him be motivated to carry out an assassination?
Well, the thing is, you see, if the FBI is saying that there are, criminal cases filed that have been against him in India and all that, it is of the part of the FBI to prove it. You just cannot make claims and get away by it. Prove it. What proof do you have? So as I said, we will have to wait and see what proof they have. Because you see, let us not forget one thing. Just because he is Indian, we can also not defend him, saying that, it is but natural that he will call himself innocent. But it is incumbent on the FBI's part to prove his guilt. And the thing is that if you are saying, and it is not even a case of, he said this and they said this. Because if you're talking about criminal cases against a person, there are records of that. In India, there are records. I don't know how it happens in the US, but definitely in India, there are records of criminal and civil cases. So if this man is saying, it seems rather confidently, that, there are no cases, then what is the FBI saying? And if the FBI is saying this, and if they are not lying, okay, this man is saying that the FBI is actually lying. So prove this man wrong by presenting the evidence in court that yes, this man has been involved in several criminal cases. The ball is in the US court now. They are the ones who will have to prove that, this man is lying. Number one, and you see, sometime back we had done a report. There, apprehensions were expressed that it is a possibility that this man may be tortured or pressure may be put in on him in prison by the FBI, obviously, and he may be made to turn a prover. Okay, so you have to look at this interview from that point of view, because there was serious worry that this man will be made to put pressure to turn a prover against the Indian government, and he would be made to say, that yes, he was there he was involved in this assassination plot. Now, this interview, the importance of this interview lies in preempting that untruth. If it had happened, the propaganda that would have happened, this interview preempts that. This is on record. We have got it on record, you see. So, yes, I would say we are doing, it's a service to our country, in terms of that nobody can pin this thing on our country when we have got the man. He has told us that he is innocent. He has not done anything. Let the FBI try and pin it on the Indian government after that. Well, then I would say that you have done there is some kind of garbad has happened.
Right, ma'am, absolutely requesting you to stay on with us. Let's shift our focus to question number 5. How have the officials treated you in the US? You are housed in one of the most unsafe prisons in the country, according to a statement that has been made by you in the court. Now, the treatment from the officials is such that they expect me to agree with whatever they say. They have 100 ways of to make in fact anyone comply through force, intimidation and dirty tactics. So again, he's telling us the environment in which, he's placed. That's why I am being kept here. They want me to admit that there is some CC1. They want me to accept that name that they are giving me and to make statements as they want for their story. So again, he's trying to say that he is sort of being intimidated into giving answers, the answers that they want him to give. This is their dirty game. Since I don't know anyone, how can I provide any information or accept what they are asking me to? So again, you know, he's giving us an understanding on the environment inside the jail. He is also telling us that there's intimidation. You know, there's of course intimidation that's taking place. All sorts of, you know, again, earlier he said that he's being tortured. So, you know, again, very unfortunate there at this point of time. Let's take this conversation forward with Professor Sandeep Tripathi. You know, he has given us an understanding, and it's not a pleasant one. Forcing him to give answers that he does not agree with, using all these dirty tactics as he's mentioned. How do you then view the kind of a situation that he's in? And again, you know, it's going to have such a large psychological impact. Why should he be forced to give answers that are not true?
See, this is what United States of America. This is somehow what I was explaining about the, you know, so-called vibrancy of democratic, you know, face of America. We should know that even in India, we have fundamental rights, right? Nikhil Gupta has two fundamental rights to defend itself against the state atrocities. And this is somehow, US is behaving like that, that intimidation, you know, torture, psychological pressure, so that he could now explain, he could reveal some of the facts that US really wanted. This is somehow. So that's why my request to Indian government to kindly, you know, get in touch with the UN Department of Justice. Do not put pressure on accused, because he is the accused, not convicted. I repeatedly say. And one is that the US authority doesn't have any right to put pressure on him, to intimidate him, and to intimidate so that he could explain something against India. So that is serious concern. This is the same serious concern as US had explained its own serious concern in 2023. In 2023, the top officers, even NSA, William Burns, Jack Sullivan, they all claimed, they all expressed concern, and Indian government responded very sharply that yes, we are in a position, we are going to set up a committee to inquire this case. So now this is the responsibility of Indian government to get in touch with the US Department of Justice to not put pressure on any individual. I'm not saying that he's from India just because, even if someone is from USA, it should not be take place. So this is something, how can you talk about democracy, human rights? You export human rights across the world. That is the same on you. And this is the anger of any Indians. That someone, for example, your allegation is, first, FBI alleges that you have criminal history. And there is no criminal, even the civil and the criminal cases. He has explained his credential, that this is my credential. I'm a regular taxpayer. This is my background. And someone you are torturing. So this is unfortunate. I think if US needs to continue good relation with India, US has to come out in a humane manner and protect the civil liberty, fundamental rights of Nikhil Gupta.
Right, it's absolutely requesting you to stay on with us. Let's shift our focus to the next question that has been asked. Are you receiving the legal remedies that any accused person deserves? So here's the answer right over here. I haven't received any legal support anywhere, not even moral support. The media reports that I get from India claims various things, but there is in fact no support at all. Only the prayers of my fellow Indians have kept me alive in this condition, far away from my family and friends, and in an extremely hostile environment. Again, giving us an understanding on the situation. I am hopeful that the Indian bureaucracy and the government will do something to help me. So again, you know, it almost seems like a cry for help. We now have an understanding on the situation, torture, trying to force him to give answers, mental torture, physical torture, cases of stabbing. 4 people have been killed inside the jail. It's an unlivable situation. I'm going to take this conversation forward with Ms. Joyita Basu. Ma'am, with all that he's already shared with us, should India then ensure that Nikhil Gupta has access to the best lawyers to defend his case?
Well, I think you have to understand it from the diplomatic point of view. As far as we know, that okay, maybe there has not been any, do you want to spoil your relationship with a strategic partner because of a man that they are saying is a criminal and they tried to kill one of your citizens? So I think our Ministry of External Affairs and I would say our government is treading a little, what do I say? Treading a little carefully. I think this is what is happening in the case, but that does not mean I'm certain that they are not doing anything for him. I'm certain something is going on because you see, I'm certain the topic of Nikhil Gupta comes up when the government, the talks happen between the 2 governments at different levels, not just, at the NSA level, at the foreign ministry level, at the level of the Secretary of State and all. So, but yes, the charge that he is making, that, that he is being, that, let's put it this way. What exactly is the FBI and the DOJ in this case they are trying to achieve? It seems they want a confession from him. And obviously, the minute a confession comes, then what do? They are going to use that to pin it on the Indian government. So we have to understand it in terms of it. There's a much bigger game at play. When he's talking about a political game, yes, that is what it is exactly. And they basically want to have the Indian government on the dock. So I think the Indian government is also being very, very careful and wary about how to go about the situation. They do not want to be implicated in this manner. That look at, so all these things will also have to brought into consideration. But sadly, what has happened, this man is paying the human cost of what is actually geopolitics, about what exactly a section of the US is trying to do to the Indian government. So this is the main problem.
Right, ma'am, absolutely. Requesting you to stay on with us. Let's shift our focus to the next question that we have over here. Many in India believe you are being used by vested interests outside of India for a larger global goal directed against India. Do you agree with this premises? His answer right over here. I completely agree. This is also my opinion. I had mentioned this in my submission to the Prague court. They told me that such political statements should not be made here. This is on record. I can check this by going through the case records related to the hearing that was done on 7th November 2023. I spoke in Hindi and the judge responded in Czech. I am being used as a global tool for a larger agenda, which is to defame India. My friends and I have become entangled in this big game. I am being used as a pawn. So he's again very openly saying that this is, again, this is a global, he's being used as a global tool for a larger agenda, which is to defame India. He said this very openly in this answer that he has given to the Sunday Guardian. Let me take this conversation forward with Professor Sandeep Tripathi, sir. Again, very openly he said this, that, there's a larger picture over there. He's not, he's being used as a global tool. Now, with the statement that he's made, is Nikhil Gupta, in your assessment, an example of deep state proxy war against India?
See, there is a certain background behind this kind of a statement. And there is certain facts also. We cannot, we cannot ignore this fact. For example, we have seen the Canadian soil, the kind of Canadian soil, the kind of Pannun's supporter, Khalistani supporters on Canadian soil against India. The continuous threatening Indian diplomats, Indian citizens. What is this? Where was America? What happens when the Canadian soil is allowed to speak against, to divide India? That is the question. And where was America during that time? So this kind of statement reflects something. If he, explains that yes, he's being used as a tool in this proxy war, so it has some weight. It is not in vacuum, because we have seen. Why I'm saying this, because last 2-3 years, the Canadian soil has become anti-sentiment against India. That is the fact, and there are lots of facts and figures. The kind of anti-Indian flag hosting was there. Khalistani flag hosting was there. So on this point, you say this is Canadian issue. And if such things happens, then you suddenly involved in that case. What is this? So image is very clear. You cannot make one fool a country like India, right? And the story begins after the Russia-Ukraine war, when India made it clear that India is entitled to have its own choices. The USA does not want to have free choices across the global south. Let me tell you very frankly. This is the fact. So on so many global forums, our foreign minister made it categorically clear: India is entitled to have its own choice. And the choice is where we are stand. This is our strategic autonomy. So this is kind of puzzle. See, this is kind of a nervousness inside the USA. USA has been talking about the Kashmir issue. USA has been talking about the Indian opposition party. Who are you? And this is something the conduct like sovereign country. India is a sovereign country. So obviously, this is fact. If Nikhil Gupta is making this kind of statement, he might be a tool for this proxy war, for this against India, against sentiment. So somehow it has some credential, it has some logic. I'm not saying that it is completely true, but Nikhil Gupta is not only the individual case. See, try to understand, NSA, National Security Advisor, Jack Sullivan, and William Burns, CIA director, they always trying to accuse the Indian government. Who's main plotting is the top Indian official. And that's why India responded very sharply, no, we are ready to cooperate with you. But what happens? Are you ready to cooperate with you? When something is going against India from the Canadian soil? This is the question. And this is a very big and bold question. So the picture is very clear. The US is very nervous about India's rising position, India's voice across the global south, India's leading position in the global south.
Right, absolutely. I'm also going to, rope in Ms. Joyita Basu into the telecast. Ma'am, is Nikhil Gupta then being targeted to shift attention from West's clean sheet to Khalistan? What's your assessment on that front?
Well, let's put it this way. It goes without saying that yes, there is deep state involvement in the Khalistan terrorism. Okay, I mean, Khalistanis are growing in Canada. Why do you think they are? There is total Canadian government support. Is there support in the US? Of course, it is coming across as, because unless and until you are supporting the Khalistanis, why would you be, why is Pannun not in jail? You see, you are saying it's a free speech. Really? If you remember, there was this Indian origin girl who was there, at one of those hearings. She said something, we are going to come and we are going to assassinate you, and we are going to protest against in front of your office or something like that. What was done to her? She was immediately sent to jail. She still has not been, I think, released from there. So you see, this is a crime in the US. So why is it that it becomes free speech when India and Indians are the target of such hate speech? Okay, such threats, but it is not a it is not a crime when they do it to India, and it is a crime when they do it to the Americans. So obviously, this is hypocrisy. This is double standards that we are witnessing, and we have to look at it. You see, when we are looking at the U.S. government, also, if you're looking at the U.S. government, its departments have been working in silos. So, for example, the State Department. State Department is extremely anti-India. You see, they have got huge Khalistani influence, Islamist influence, anti-India Muslim influence. Chinese money also comes into them. They are the woke types. So they have got a major problem with India and India's so-called right-wing government, number one. And number two, but there is the Department of Defense with whom our relationship is pretty good. And the thing is, you see, this Department of Justice and Department of State, these are the two entities that are very, very anti-India, and they have been coming after India with all their might. So you see, it comes across as almost personal. Now, why is it like, when it comes to the state and justice, when this system is coming into this? So Pannun is a deep state operative, let's put it this way. I remember reading this thing that where the Indians told the Americans, we know why you're not taking an action against him, because he's a CIA man, because he's your man. So if that is the case, they are right now basically trying to protect their man. And apart from that, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to put India in the dock, because these two entities are extremely anti-India. So all this anti-India propaganda that you see in the West, a large part of it is stemming from the US, from these entities, and from that particular ecosystem that is there. So yes, that is definitely. Say, for example, our US ambassador, Mr. Garcetti, he also comes from the same stock. Okay. I mean, it is said that there is, of course, talk about that there is Chinese influence on Mr. Garcetti also, because he is very close to China, by the way. And he also is deep state. So you see, and he may go around dancing and prancing and doing whatever, but, well, I think he's a very bad ambassador. Okay, so the thing is, you see, they are all doing their own agenda. They want India to be powerful, but only a little bit. Okay, India should never be powerful enough so that they start feeling threatened. So they're trying to preempt that. So whichever department, whichever they are doing, that is their whole thing. So basically, they realize, and there is actually a push in the US saying that, you see, we have been making a mistake. We should be deepening our ties with India. India should become a manufacturing economic powerhouse, which it already is. So they are trying to ensure that, okay, we will do X, but it will never be triple X or 5 times the X. India should not become another China. That is their fundamental point. Okay, although it's a fact that, they're still absolutely in bed with China. But they're also very, very worried about China, because they are losing their control over the world. Chinese influence peddling is putting the Western hegemony, it's under serious threat. So they do not want India to become another China, which shows how they don't understand geopolitics. They do not understand India fundamentally, because you see, India will not become another China. India has its own path carved out. I mean, if they have not understood that till now, they do not understand. They will never understand it. So basically, this is to keep India, I would say what they are doing is, this is to keep India in a state of insecurity. Okay, you're never certain about where you stand. That is what the US strategy is towards India. And these two departments, State Department and Department of Justice, they have weaponized everything against India. This particular issue, Khalistanis have also been weaponized against India. So yes, a lot of weaponization is taking place. Weaponization of values. I mean, they themselves do not believe in any values. I mean, for God's sake, what values do they have? But at the same time, they talk about moral values, democracy, this, that. Is this the way they are treating Nikhil Gupta? Is that democratic? Is that is that how justice has to be given? Is that how a guilty should be treated? But no, they don't care. They exercise power ruthlessly. And this is again another, for that, if they have to lie, they have to kill, they have to destroy, they will do it. Okay, it does not matter if you're on my right side, fine, we will, otherwise you are finished. But at the same time, if you are China, we will fall at your feet. but they do not want another China situation to develop with India.
Right, ma'am. Absolutely. Requesting you to stay on with us. The last question, and a very pertinent question here. Do you have anything to say to the government of India? Answer right here. I have been over a year. It's been over a year since I have met my family. During this time, even phone conversations have been disconnected abruptly. I have been kept in solitary confinement, treated like an animal. I am more concerned about my family than myself. I'm worried about how they are managing over there. Our Hindi movies used to show that those closest to you are the first to abandon you in times of need and crisis. Now, I have experienced this firsthand. I and my family members have been left to face all this alone. Nobody has visited my family or responded to multiple letters and emails that have been sent by my mother and children, nor have I received any support, is what he's telling us. We are completely in the dark. This has become a political issue. I would not like to say more. I and my family members are expecting assistance from the government of India because I am an innocent man who has been wrongly framed. So again, his final statements there in this interview saying that he is an innocent man, he has been wrongly framed. Whenever he tries to have a conversation with his family members over the phone call, they abruptly cut the call, is what he's sharing. His family has sent letters. There has been no response in this situation where he needs a lot of assistance. I'd like to rope in Professor Sandeep Tripathi into the telecast. Sir, again, he seems to have absolutely no support. He is in a situation, in an environment that's absolutely unlivable, that's unsafe. He's worried about his family because he doesn't even have too much information on how they're doing or what they're doing. With such a situation in hand, is there anything that India can do to ensure Nikhil gets fair representation in the case?
See, there are 2 points. First, this is the mockery of civil liberty and fundamental rights. I'm not talking on behalf of the USA because we are very clear US has a double standard hypocrisy on these democratic values. This is I'm not willing to talk on that point. But the next point is, which is very important, that India, as a country that protects, that respects, that upholds the civil liberty. So I do believe, and I'm requesting Indian government at least ensure a free and fair trial of Nikhil Gupta. This kind of information, for example, like phone disconnected, no response from the family, no assistance. I think, this is the gross violation of the fundamental rights. In India, we provide certain fundamental help, for example, to assess legal assistance, right, to family interactions. So this is somehow a gross violation, and this is a matter of concern that we have to keep in mind. So my appeal is that at diplomatic level, India has to put pressure on USA, because this is not an individual case of Nikhil Gupta. Nikhil Gupta is from the India, and we should not forget that entire US and Canadian both are trying to destabilize India's rising status. That is the fact, and I am absolutely agree with my co-panelist. They don't digest India's rising position. So they're somehow trying to make puzzle for India. So India has to come out, and at least, I'm not saying that who is right and who is wrong. That is the question of investigation process. But let the investigation process free and fair. That is the main concern. And I hope that Indian government will consider.
Right, absolutely. With that, I'd like to thank both our guests for joining us on the broadcast, sharing their perspectives. And again, viewers, we've gone through conclusive and, these statements that have been made by Nikhil Gupta. This is the first of its kind interview. It's the first time that anyone has heard his voice. People now know the kind of a situation that he is in. So again, thank you so much for watching. We're slipping into a very short break. Stay tuned.